Beauty!
Guys in the Golf.
Got a bit of thunder going on in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, so a bit of behind the scenes to start with today. With this podcast, I feel like our roles are fairly well matched, where sort of Ash is really well researched with all sorts of topics, and I don't have the time or patience to know a little bit about everything, which Ash certainly does. In fact, if you ever want to pick an argument with him, if he starts arguing back, I would back down straight away, because he'll never ever pick it follow through with an argument that he knows he's not right on. If he backs down, then it means he doesn't know enough about the topic. Yeah, but anyway, so with Ash, he writes a lot of notes usually for a podcast, and then we come in and I'll have a few notes to add, and then we'll sort of record an episode, and that's when my work starts. After that, I'll go home and sort of start putting the whole episode together. So I do all the sort of technology side of it, and Ash does a lot of the content side of it.
Making sure all the sound's good, and then putting all the clips in there, and then doing the show notes. And
well, even the clips, I think I've got, how many years have we been doing videos together? I've probably got 8-10 years worth of library footage that I can use. Yeah, so that's a bit of a sort of behind the scenes of sort of how we do this, and sort of flowing on from that with the behind the scenes, we thought we would actually do a bit of a talk today about some of the comments and messages we've been getting, and just basically answer all your questions about the podcast, about crabbing, about fishing, about everything that you guys have been asking questions about. What do you reckon?
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. There's plenty of them to go through.
Yeah.
Thousands of them. We could actually probably spend several hours sitting here and going through.
We could. Depends how angry we want to get. We're on we're on heavy beers as well, so
prepping.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good one to start on, mate. Bloody heavy beers.
Yeah.
Trying to do the right thing, having bloody zeros for a while, and trying to look after myself a little bit, have a couple of months off the grog.
Yeah.
One video, one picture of bloody Big Ash holding a zero get torn to pieces in the comment section. Absolutely torn to pieces.
There's probably I would say 10 comments in there of people going, "Oh, what's with the zero alcohol?"
Yeah.
It's like, these guys should be wearing skirts. Or like, if they had any idea, like the quantity of beer that we do drink, real beer that we drink. Yeah, I don't know. It's not really a much
throughout
thing.
The season, mate.
Yeah.
Like there's not too many nights down the club where we don't close it out. You know, like if we're in town and not out on the boat or something, then pretty much at the club every night until close.
Yeah.
Hence why zero alcohol beers for a little while to just
try to have time off. Try and look after yourself.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really do that, which I really need to.
Yeah, I think I did about 4 months off the beers last year, and then, like I say, one video, mate. All of a sudden,
yeah. Well, I'll even
all the bloody champions come out.
I'll even cut to a clip of the video right now, and we'll show you the whole clip.
Oh, Jesus! You got him. You ever seen a snatch like that, mate?
So that was Thumburn fishing when he literally had just arrived at King Ash Bay. He was staying at the lodge.
Yeah.
He'd been there less than 10 minutes and saw there was a car bogged out the back, and we were trying to get it out. And again, with the comments in that video, people saying, "Oh, you should never do it on the toe walls." And it's like, well, we weren't.
Yeah.
It wasn't. And people saying, "Oh, you shouldn't snatch that hard. You should do it easy and slow and steady." And I'm like, well, we did try that for 25-30 minutes before we did this.
And big storm rolling in and trying to get it out of there before, because it turns into a proper river there when it rains. So trying to get that vehicle out of there quick. So
that's what frustrates me.
You don't get the whole picture in a 30-second TikTok video. You don't get the whole picture of what's going on, obviously. So when people are already making assumptions, makes them look a bit silly to us.
Yeah.
To other people that don't understand the whole background, like the whole backstory and what's going on, maybe. Maybe it seems like legitimate comments, but certainly when you know the full story, it looks a bit silly.
Yeah. And that's what I find with any of my videos that have gone, let's call it viral, in the short form, like TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram or Facebook Reels, so any of those short videos, any of those ones that have got over, say, 500,000 views, that's when you start going into the real the negative comment. Like, don't read the comment section on those ones because you're going to get people that are just going to frustrate you. Like, they're people that have no idea of the whole situation and they think they're an expert.
Yeah.
And without knowing anything, especially with the crabbing videos. Yeah. When they see a box full of crab, like after a day working, like then you've checked 90 crab pots for the day and there's a box full of crab. And people just think, oh, overfishing, or where are the limits, and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, if they had any idea of the amount of content that we put out to do with the sustainability of the fishery and stuff like that.
Oh, that's it. And that's, like, again, what people don't realise is, and it's just people that don't have much knowledge on it are the ones that are making silly comments like, commercial fishermen are, they're the rapists of the ocean and stuff. Like, it is so heavily regulated, especially commercial mud crab fishing. Like, all the boats have GPS trackers on them.
Yeah.
If that gets turned off or whatever, like straight away, or within 24 hours, you'll get an email or a phone call from AFMA. The federal authority that looks after all commercial fishing, and they'll be saying, hey, you've got to return to port, fix your VMS, so your vessel monitoring system. It's not polling at the moment, so they can't see where you're at. So, you get a very short window to get it fixed or return to port. And then if you can't get it fixed, then you have to put in an application for a TSO, temporary switch off permit, to turn it off. So, like, you watch like that, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week via AFMA, via GPS, via satellite. And then, then you have things like the sea rangers here all the time that are out patrolling, doing patrols, checking crab pots and stuff, making sure everyone's compliant in what they're doing there. Then you have, obviously, water police, and like in the Northern Territory, we don't have an actual fisheries enforcement section. We've just got water police. But water police are, like any Northern Territory police officers, basically can be a water police at the same time. It's not although they do have a separate section which solely focuses on policing, commercial fishing and that sort of thing.
And that'd be a geographic reason as well, wouldn't it? For example, I know, I've seen before in Borroloola, there's a police boat, but there's no water police in Borroloola.
No.
So if the police had to go on the water here to, say, search for a missing person or something like that, it's just regular police from Borroloola.
Correct.
Jumping in the boat, Yeah,
and you're right, it's geographical because obviously, we're 1,000 kilometres from Darwin. If something happens or something gets reported by a tourist or whoever and it needs to be checked out, the water police don't want to have to travel the whole way from Darwin down to here to do a quick job down the river. So obviously, we need the local coppers to do it. And then again, we've got the sea rangers as well who get subbed out to do some. Although they don't have enforcement powers, they are able to collect data and collect evidence and that sort of thing. And, they do training with water police and stuff to be able to do that. So we've got plenty of people in the air that keep an eye on things. But, it's not just that. Like, look at the Northern Territory coastline. I think it's about just under 11,000 kilometres of coastline for the Northern Territory.
Yeah, wow.
There's only 49 commercial mud crab licences in the Northern Territory. So with 60 pots. So you're looking at, 60 by 49 and then, divide that into, close to 11,000 kilometres. So basically it works out you've got like one crab pot every few kilometres or something like that if they're evenly spaced out. That doesn't include any of the river systems or anything. So
yeah, there's some rivers that just never get crabbed. Like,
yeah, and some parts of the coastline as well.
So when you were talking about that VMS, so if that's the GPS. So there could be someone sitting in an office checking on you where you're going. So if just say one license is 60 crab pots, so using their data, they could see on a map or whatever that you're stopping 65 times each day.
Potentially, yeah.
They could go, hey, wait a sec, you're using 65 crab pots. You've only got a license for 60, so you could potentially get in trouble for that.
But potentially, well, I mean, I suppose they would utilise that data and then forward that on to water police and sea rangers to collect more evidence maybe and find out what's going on. But certainly, the idea of this is to keep track of where your boat is at all times. So
you're not going into zones that are protected and all sorts of stuff.
Closed areas and things like that, and people have got in trouble for that before.
Yeah, okay.
I've
seen the book on the mud crab fishery and the laws and the rules and that involved in it. It's 60 pages long or something like that.
There's a few different things as well. So, the mud crab management plan, harvest strategy. Yeah, then there's all the actual law about it as well. So then there's, all sorts of other information about it.
But then there's like the Fisheries Act or something. Which
absolutely,
there's. So,
and then on top of that, so like any the commercial operators have to have the boat's got to be in survey. They've got to have the VMS. They've got to have a coxswain's ticket, so they're basically a commercial boat license to operate. You have to have an approved operator card. So, like, if you want to do commercial mud crab fishing, you have to go to fisheries and actually do an interview with fisheries, and they'll go through all the rules and regulations with you, and then you've got to basically prove to them that you know enough about it to be able to become an approved operator. And that's all before you can get a license. And then to get a license, like to buy one, they're not a few $100s or a few $1,000s. They're hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy one license.
Yeah, wow.
Or you can lease one from a commercial, from a owner. But again, that's tens of thousands of dollars. So
per year.
Yeah, per year. So it's not a cheap exercise.
Yeah. Well, it's another thing with comments that I get. There's a lot of people that comment saying, "Oh, I'd love to come up there and do some crabbing for a year." And it's like, well, even for me, like, so I live here, I'm mates with all you guys, but I couldn't just go be a crabber. You need to have an agent in Darwin, like someone to sell your crabs to.
Yeah.
You need like the boat, the license. You can't just walk up to someone and say, "Oh, can I get a license?" Like licenses aren't easy to get, are they?
No, certainly not. Like I said, there's only 49 in the Northern Territory, so and they're all occupied all the time.
Exactly.
Utilised all the time.
So if there was 250 licenses in the Northern Territory, they would probably all be occupied. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, in terms of comments around sustainability and things like that, it's a highly sustainable industry.
Oh, definitely. Let's literally dive straight into some comments. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
I reckon. All right, the most recent comment I have on my page is, oh no, it's from 2 hours ago. It's just awesome. I'll give that a like. It's from one from 5 hours ago from someone. Straw What Garage is their username on YouTube. Unfortunately, I don't give a damn about your finger. I wish the crab would win every now and then, and it was on film so we could see it. And that was the video, the Mad Mullet. So he's basically saying, like, I hope you get bitten on the fingers because, like, leave the crabs alone.
So what video was that one on?
That was on the Mad Mullet, though. So a Golf Mud Crab is
one.
Oh,
so on YouTube, not on YouTube. TikTok. Yeah,
sorry,
Yeah, so but why?
They've taken time out of their day to watch that video, and that video's had like 300,000 views, and everyone loves it. Like, it's a great video.
Yeah.
And then this guy's been like, "Oh, well, yeah, well, I hope you get bitten on the finger," basically. I'm like, yeah. So with the negative comments, you kind of have to laugh sometimes and just think, oh, firstly, you're helping the algorithm. Like, even if you leave a negative comment, it still helps my channel.
Yeah, that's it.
And secondly, I sort of feel sorry for them in that, like, the highlight of their day is going online for a couple of hours and trying to upset people,
Yeah. And the flip side is anyone that's been here and met the Mad Mullet absolutely loves him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, most people anyway.
He's a crowd pleaser.
Like, he's an absolute champion. So, to wish harm on someone or, it's just bloody ludicrous.
Yeah. Big time. Do you want to go through some other comments, mate?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the next comment down, one from yesterday on the same video. Someone with 15,000 exclamation marks at the end saying, "Stop taking the breeders."
Stop taking the in terms of mud crab.
Mud crabs, yeah.
So, well, we've been through this a fair bit already on the podcast. But like, obviously, like, a female mud crab produces 3+ million eggs a season.
Let me cut you off. I just popped into my head that I should write back as a comment. Tell me you're from Queensland without telling me you're from Queensland. You know what I mean? Because that's someone from. It's just someone who's just become used to a law. Like, they're not allowed. That's the only place that you're not allowed to keep females, maybe. Mud crabs. I think you are allowed in Western Australia.
You are allowed in New South Wales as well.
Yeah. Okay. So So Queensland. So it's just you've become used to the law, and as a result, you think that everyone else is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not really the right way to be. Like, if the evidence said we shouldn't be taking females here, then I'd be all for not taking females. If the evidence said it.
And look, the fisheries department, and when I talk about fisheries, I don't mean fisheries enforcement. I don't mean water police. I mean fisheries research. So a department of the government that are basically the scientists that manage the fishery. Several years ago, when we had poor wet seasons for several years prior to that, they looked at actually closing down part of the mud crab, like making a season for it, or potentially restricting the take of female crabs for a period. That never came to fruition though, because again, the year after we had a good wet season, and then we had good crab that year.
And they weren't looking at closing, like not taking females. It wasn't because of they thought that taking the females in previous years had contributed to them being less crabs.
No, so what happens is, all the crabs that are caught, all the crabs that are sold, you have to report to fisheries how many kilos of crab you take. So they noticed a downward trend for a few years of catch, and so said, look, it's getting to a stage where we need to start looking at things and being proactive rather than reactive, and going, okay, maybe we need to look at restricting the catch of female crab for this year or next year or whatever until we get a good wet season again, whatever. But it turned out we had a good wet season and it didn't come to fruition.
And it just proved that it wasn't because of overfishing.
No, it was 100% seasonal.
Which we've covered many times. Yeah.
Absolutely been through it 1,000 times. It all comes down to the seasons. But certainly all the crab that are caught, male, female, doesn't matter. They're all recorded, and then that information's put against your basically what you sell as well. So everything's well and truly managed to beyond what you would imagine.
Yeah, okay.
As I said, you can go through your TikTok, and there's so many any TikToks that show, like, again, large quantities of crabs. There's always silly comments like, I wonder how many pots they stole from the grubs. It's like, mate, we're literally 100 kilometers from here to get to where I was working at the time.
Yeah. Like,
there's not another person for 100 kilometers.
Yeah.
Like, there's literally no one else around. The only person that's there is a fellow that comes by helicopter. Yeah. And he doesn't have many pots up there, I can tell you. So
I wonder how many pots they stole from the grubs.
No, like, it's just such a silly thing too, because, like, as you know, a lot of the time during the dry season when we don't have big tides, you've got to work really flat out just to be able to get to your 90 to be able to finish your run. Like, you've got to work really quick and hard to get through that. Like, you don't have time to be going and looking at other people, nor do you want to. And it's just such a silly comment again. Now, look, maybe where some people are from, maybe in other places in metropolitan areas and stuff, no doubt people do take people's crabs or crab pots and whatever.
Well, we get stories all the time. People that come up every year and that they're from, say, Queensland, and they come up here and visit, and they're blown away by how many crabs you can catch in a crab pot, and secondly that people don't steal them, don't steal your pots, and that they always tell us stories from back home where, oh no, we have to, like, if I'm leaving my pots in overnight, I have to, like, camp in the boat near them and things like that. And I'm like, well, that's like. I couldn't imagine touching someone else's pot. I've never even touched one of your pots. If I'm down there, and I know, like, because all the crabbers here have their own individual float systems, like you can recognise which crab are by the floats. So I'll know their ashes. And I know you wouldn't care if I touched your pot, but there's just no way I would risk someone else seeing me touching your pot and then going back to you and saying, oh, Mikey's been, like, and we're like best mates, and there's no way I would touch your crab pots, so let alone strangers.
Yeah, and it's like you do hear from time to time people here complaining that somebody's taken their crab pot from here.
Yeah.
And I've had people come up to me in the boat and said, oh, mate, my crab pot's gone missing. I had it over there or whatever. But 99% of the time it's because they're running cheap pots.
Yeah.
Not enough line. The pots are really light.
In the deep water?
In the deep water. Yeah. And as the tide's running out, the amount of sticks and stuff that come out the rivers, they literally get tangled up in your floats and your rope, and they get dragged out the front. And that's what I tell people all the time. Like, especially like at the Crooked, for example, or at the MacArthur, the amount of crab pots you find out there that are 3 k's out to sea on the sandbar, like 3 k's out towards the ocean, out the channel, and you find them all in the shallows there because people have just put them in deep water and it's too deep, or there's too much flow at that time, and they've got tangled up in some branches and getting dragged out there because most people run just them cheap fold up, wire sort of pots that are, covered in like the blue, like prawn trawler mesh sort of stuff. And they only weigh a kilo or something. And that's what happens. They just get dragged, a stick gets caught on them and they get dragged out to the ocean. So you do hear from people quite often that, somebody's taken or stolen my crab pots. I don't think anyone's stolen it.
Not likely. Like it would happen every now and then here.
Yeah, well, it happens to our pots. It happens to our pots. They get tangled up with something, and you go out, you wait until you have a low tide, and then you go and look on the edge of the channels out in the mouth, and then you'll find them out there, like nearly all the time. Or one of the other boys, young boy or mullet or someone will call me on the radio, or I'll see them here back in town here, and they'll say, "Oh, I found one of your crab pots out on the sandbar outside. When you go out there, have a look. There's one there," or something. Sometimes, you'll get 2 or 3 crab pots will get tangled up together because they'll start dragging and you have them in a line and they'll all get dragged out and you'll have 2 or 3 tangled together out in the flats.
You do hear that on the radio. If you're listening into Channel 81 on the VHF, which I'll actually go and reply to a comment right now, as that was one of our most recent comments on the last episode we did, which was this one. Comments, old mate says, what was his name? Kevin Blanchford. Can we have some information about VHF radio when fishing out of King Ash Bay? So that was on the Guys in the Gulf Facebook page. So at some people at their houses here, they've got a VHF radio, and you'll leave it on Channel 81, and you can hear the chatter between. A lot of the time, the crabbers be talking with each other, like you were just saying, or just people talking boat to boat, or which they shouldn't really do boat to boat when they're out there. But so. Tell us about Channel 81.
So the fishing club basically owns that channel for our area.
Yeah.
So that's registered to the club. The club has a radio repeater, which is out on the islands.
Yeah.
The club.
So how many kilometres would that? So we're at King Ash Bay here, out where the repeater is. How many kilometres would that be?
From here,
as
the crow flies, it'd be 60 k's at least. Okay. I'd say 60, 70 kilometres. So, but the repeater's on top of the hill on one of the islands there. So, but that gives us coverage right throughout the whole area, all around the islands, all up and down the rivers and estuaries and stuff around King Ash Bay.
So if you're heading out to Weeby Fishing and Wilderness Lodge on North Island, before you leave King Ash Bay, you could radio Brett out at Weeby and say...
Let him know you're coming, for sure. Or the servo, like if you've got problems or something, or, whatever, you can message or call up the servo. The houseboat guys, they all operate on 81 between their houseboat base and the houseboats. So it's sort of like the call up channel. Like it's people do talk ship to ship on it, but like if you're out fishing out around the islands or something like that, you might call each other up on that channel and then change to a different channel so that you're not interrupting everyone else.
If you're fishing 1 kilometre from your mate and you can see their boat over there, choose an alternate channel. And use that one just to talk boat to boat. Yeah. Just so you're not clogging up 81. Not that it's a drama, but...
No, it's not if you're having long conversations for 20 minutes.
Yeah, we don't want to hear about you going back to the houseboat for lunch and, Jimmy's had too many beers and we're going to go back. Oh, that spot we were at yesterday? Yeah, we trolled past there. We got 2 cod there every day.
So, but you can call each other up on 81. That's the thing. But the distinction needs to be made too is that when you're looking at if you need to buy a radio, don't get the 27 megahertz radio.
Okay, this is technology I don't know about. All I know is we're VHF. Tell us more about that.
So it's a VHF radio. So 27 megahertz is VHF as well, but it's it doesn't cover the same bandwidth. So if you're coming up here, you need a full marine VHF radio. So like BCF sell them, or any of the big tackle shops or boat shops or whatever would sell them. But just make the distinction. It's not 27 megahertz. That's the old school, and that's only line of sight. You won't get the same amount of channels. So the best way to know is when you turn your radio on. If you get channel 81, you'll know it's the right one.
Yeah. Because even on that comment that old mate that we're responding to, oh no, it wasn't that. Someone else had commented something about radio, and then I saw a comment, someone replying back to it saying, "Oh no, it would be UHF out there, mate." And I'm like,
no, it's definitely not.
No, because didn't that people don't even
UHF is ultra high frequency, obviously, but that's used in your Toyota. In land based stuff mostly, and
that's what can get frustrating at times in comments. People that clearly didn't know what they were talking about, replying to someone as if they know what they're talking about. Yeah. So I suppose if you have any questions that you need answered before you come here, just message us, and we'll cover it in a podcast for you. Yeah, for sure. But certainly if you're looking at getting a radio, make sure it's a full VHF one, not the 27 megahertz, which is
smaller.
So what you can just go to BCF or somewhere like that.
Any boat shops, anyone sells them really, but obviously there are different things you can get for different industry and that as well. So some people would use HF radio or VHF radio for other things on land based for long distances or whatever. I think I'm not an expert, definitely not an expert on radio, but HF radio travels the furthest, and then VHF the second furthest, and then UHF the least, I think is how it works. But like aircraft, for example, use VHF radio, but then they would have the ability to change frequencies. Whereas when you buy just a marine VHF radio, it is set on channels which are already pre-programmed to those 1, 2, 3, frequencies. 4, 5.
Okay. But the actual frequency, you could go to one that you can change the actual frequency. We're talking like almost like your car radio, like
for like aircraft
1.7 or
for aircraft, because each different area would have its own frequency, not channel, so to speak.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, all right. So that's that one. That was the VHF. I had. I'm going back a little while here, back to. It was a trip we were talking about before when we were saying we're 100 k's up the coast.
Mm-hmm.
That was the video where we lost Red Dog.
Oh yeah.
Off the side of the boat, and it.
Go and watch the full YouTube video.
Yeah.
Golf mud crabbers.
Yeah. Where'd it go? I just had it.
It's a very good watch. Very entertaining.
What have you done?
There's about 4,000 comments in there. What happened to Red Dog? What happened to Red Dog? Go watch the Can we give a spoiler alert?
Here it is. Okay. The comment from 1 year ago now, but I didn't reply to it. The comment was, these days don't trust like barnacles superglued to the turtles for the likes of CIA/Pol Pot needle tube just isn't making the grade. Lost Red Dog saga. Okay, so this guy maybe smokes a little bit, or I don't know.
Maybe should be on the zeros, on the bluefish.
Honestly, I think what they're getting at, because they actually sort of spammed me quite a few messages there, for a few comments. They're basically saying that the Red Dog going missing was fake. We pretended that Red Dog went missing just so I could get views. And I had quite a few messages on TikTok.
Yeah.
But even though this one was from YouTube Shorts. That one was from, several were from TikTok as well. People saying, oh, no, you're just trying to get views, like the dog didn't even go missing. I'm like, well, I don't know, like great idea to try and get views. And obviously not everything you see in my videos is 100% exactly how it happened. Like sometimes I'll sort of fudge something we did over 2 days, I'll make it look like it was in 1 day or something like that. But like a whole incident. And then I videoed us actually finding the dog and the excitement that we had from finding the dog after it was lost overnight. What I didn't video is like the owner of the dog, like almost in tears that night because he was upset that he'd lost his dog.
Yeah.
And because that's the thing, I mean, because we went crabbing the next morning, like at first light, we went looking for the dog, but we sort of checked pots along the way as we're looking for the dog. And then other people commenting like, oh, I can't believe you didn't go looking for your dog. And instead you're out there checking crab pots. I would have been doing this and that. It's like, oh man, like I can't.
Well, the start, we had no idea where to start. Like you and I weren't even there when the dog
was already missing by the time we got there in the houseboat. Yeah.
So we didn't even know. Well, no one knew even where to start looking to start with. So, and it's a fairly big system up there with a lot of different ways you can go.
Yeah.
So the best course of action was just to go slowly up the river and just see if you could see him.
Yeah.
And ultimately found him up around the corner.
Yeah, which I don't think any of us truly would have expected would find him.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
I didn't think we'd find him.
Neither.
No way.
Yeah.
But he was up there, and it just happened to be where the boys had pulled up there before we arrived. And it cause it's all mangroves, you can't get out of the boat anywhere really. It's all really thick mangroves and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's where there is a tiny bit of a clearing and stuff there, where the boys had obviously pulled up the day before and put some stuff up on the bank or something like that to get out of the boat or something. I don't know, but the dog had obviously jumped out because it had just been in the boat for 3 hours, and man against the sea getting there.
And thank goodness it stayed there for the night as well. It could have gone exploring and
Yeah.
Never would have seen it.
Yeah, gone looking for pigs. There's a lot of pigs
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
up around there, so it could have gone bloody chasing pigs itself or something. So
I'll tell you the other one that people, well, there's one person that in particular that doesn't believe it. Back in episode 1 or 2 of the podcast, we talked about our mate, Tremaine, that went missing out on the islands. Or, well, we didn't know he was missing until we found him, which is the weirdest part about it. But yeah, so he'd been stuck on North Island in extreme heat and that for 3 days or whatever it was. But we came back and everything's all good. And then one of our mates, who was actually a police officer in Borroloola at the time, he still to this day thinks that we did that for views, like on River Monsters. That was who we were filming with.
You weren't even making videos at the time, I don't think, were you? Yeah, I don't even know.
Surely I was.
Had you started?
Well, maybe not.
I don't think you'd even started
maybe
making videos
I did.
yet. And like what we had nothing to gain out of it.
Yeah.
Like zero to gain out of it. We were working on a contract with the film company from the UK. So we'd all that was well and truly organised. So we didn't seek to benefit from. It could have flopped. We could have got nothing at all. The whole show could have flopped for all we knew, and we were still getting paid. So we were just more or less just working hourly rate. So
it's weird how people are just skeptical of things. Like I suppose I am. Like if I see something on TV, especially free-to-air TV.
Especially if it's the ABC. No politics.
Yeah. So it's just, weird that it's people can just doubt everything. Where it's, our mate almost died. And then
it's quite frustrating for us.
We wouldn't fake that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely quite frustrating for us when people still don't believe you. It's like, well, I don't know how we can prove it to you, mate. Like, go speak to him about it. He'll tell you how real it was.
What do you got? All right, back to the comments, mate. Is a comment or a message from someone? What do you got there, boss?
Just give me 1 second here. So we got, young Harry. G'day Ash and Mikey. Hope you guys are both going well. My name is Harry. I'm a big fan of the podcast and the YouTube videos. I don't want to humbug you guys for advice, but humbug. Not everyone would know what humbug is, I reckon. If you're from like real down south.
No, I'd never heard of it before I came to the NT.
Yeah, so humbug means annoying, I suppose.
Yeah,
don't
bother.
Yeah. Don't humbug for money or don't humbug for a cigarette or for beer or something like that. Yeah, don't keep asking somebody for something or whatever. No stress, mate. All good. That's what we're here for. Don't want to humbug you guys for advice, but I've planned a trip to King Ash Bay in November. They've hired a couple of houseboats, 14 of us from central Queensland.
Oh, yeah.
So his queries are, is there anything that he should be thinking about or anything that I definitely need to organise for the trip? We'll be taking 4 or 5 boats. We're hoping to get into a few barra in the MacArthur and then out around the islands, get a few reef fish. Is there anything to be mindful of in that country? Any help would be greatly appreciated. Thanks, blokes, Harry.
Well, we can do a whole podcast on that question.
Yeah. I think we've replied to a heap of people already with bulk things. But what are the main things, mate?
November, that time of year, certainly a good time of year. The club-wise, everything will still be sort of open here in November, so you'll still have access to fuel and more supplies. If you haven't brought whatever you need, you've still got access to that. The fact that you're getting a couple of houseboats with 14 blokes or whatever, that's going to be a hell of a good trip. Just over cater your beer. We've spoken about this as well. Yeah.
We highly recommend for drinkers. If you're from Central Queensland, you're a big drinker, guaranteed.
Yeah, definitely.
1 carton of beer per person per day.
Yeah.
And then
you're going to drink more than you usually do.
More, especially in November.
And more than you think you will, yeah.
Especially
and you can always take it home with you. Or leave it with us. Or
True story.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always take it home with you. Yeah, it's better be looking at it than looking for it. You can't get beer and stuff takeaway here. So
when you're at King Ash Bay, there's nowhere to buy it.
Yeah. Unless you go to the bar and have drinks over the bar.
Which you will.
We'd love you to.
Yeah.
But other than that, you can't buy takeaway alcohol here. It's just you can get I think 15 cans or something from Borroloola how many days a week. I don't know. It's very difficult though.
Yeah.
It's way easier just to bring it with you. A lot cheaper as well. You don't want to run out of beer. If you drink spirits, like usually I tell people to budget on half a bottle of spirits per person per night, as well as 1 carton of beer per person per day. If you're a drinker, like if you normally have a few beers.
Yeah.
Because
it sounds ridiculous.
November, it is hot as anything, and you'll be smashing them back in the boat all day. And then you'll be beered out by nightfall, and you'll want to have a couple of rums or whatever it is you fancy before going to bed.
Yeah.
So
I'd say fishing-wise, there's nothing special you need to bring, but if you're coming to do some mostly barra fishing, then you're probably going to do some trolling. You want to have the option of doing some bait fishing. You want to have the option of flicking some soft plastics. Just you don't need to go overboard. Don't bring too much stuff, especially between 14 of you. There's going to be if you all bring some stuff, you're going to have all the gear you need, a few rods each. It's always handy to have a few rods already rigged up just to quickly swap and change when you need to. Yeah,
definitely handy to have like at least a couple of like flicking rods, trolling rods, that sort of thing. A couple of bait casters. So you've got one for flicking, one for trolling. You might have a spin set up for, if you're going out the islands and that as well, you might want to, throw some silver slices at some tuna or mackerel or something.
November, there could be tuna still,
Yeah.
Because they don't like the fresh water, do they?
No, I don't
So
reckon.
what are we in now? Late January. So there's probably, you wouldn't go out tuna fishing now, for example.
Not a lot, yeah.
Yeah. But in November, there's almost certainly still tuna around.
Yeah, if you get good days, you can burn through some fuel, but you can go do a lot of miles, get right out the top of the islands there and chase, mackies and tuna and stuff, redfish, all that sort of thing out around the outer reefs and that, out around the islands.
Yeah.
A bit of a combination of gear, as long as you got like a rod, at least a rod for flicking and trolling, a rod for throwing like slices or poppers out wide, so you can really, it's something you can cast really easily and a long distance, and then like a boat rod, or you can use a hand line. Like some people use hand lines if you know what you're doing. Like you use hand lines as well for bottom fish, like goldies and jewfish and things like that. So an assortment of them sort of things. But like in terms of like terminal tackle lures and stuff like that, like it's 6 of one, half a dozen the other. They all pretty much work. Like we certainly like the Reedies lures and stuff because you buy them and they've already got all the good trebles and everything, all the good rings and everything on them straight out of the box, so you don't have to fix anything up. Gold Bomber's a favourite with barras as well. What else, mate? Soft plastics. An assortment of soft plastics will work out the reef and in the rivers and stuff for barra fishing the flats and that.
Yeah.
You want an assortment of lures that you can get, like deep water trolling in the deeper water, shallow diving lures that you can cast out in the flats, or soft plastics that you can sort of do whatever with.
Yeah, because if the tides are there for it, like fishing up on the flats is one thing, which you're literally in bloody very shallow
half
water.
A metre of water or something.
And then but it's totally different if you're trolling the channels on the side of the flats, which can go down to 3 or 4 or 5 meters. Yeah. So it's just bring a range of stuff. What we mentioned earlier in this podcast about Channel 81, that would certainly be something I'd recommend if you're all, because with that many blokes, you'll have several boats.
Yep.
I'd recommend all of you make sure you've got a VHF
radio.
With here's a little inside tip. If one of you has Starlink, put it on the houseboat. It works. Even if the boat swings in the tide, Starlink will move itself.
Yep.
Like on Ash's houseboat, we have Starlink, and it's a game changer.
Yeah, it makes it good. You put some bets on some dogs or something like that while you're kicking back.
Number 2, Stripey wins 40% of the time, every time.
You can kick back, watch the cricket or anything like that.
Yeah.
So November, the cricket will be on by then. Starlink's one good thing, but the other thing is too, like although we've got the radio repeater here, you don't like I certainly don't rely on it 100%. Like as we speak at the moment, we've got a couple of issues with it with storms and stuff around, because it is just solar panels charging a couple of batteries with basically 2 radios, one as a receiver and one as a transceiver. So at the moment it's US at the moment, so it's not working.
Yeah.
If
someone goes out there, I've never been there, I've never seen it. Whoever goes out there, I'd like to see if we can get some photos out there.
Yeah, actually, we'll try and do that.
That'd be good to show people, and even for my own, I don't know what it looks like out there.
Yeah.
My old man's been out there.
Yeah, we'll try and get that sorted. But yeah, obviously at the moment the radio's down, middle of the wet season, so it's a bit hard to get out there. We sort of need a helicopter to get out there. Otherwise, it's a long walk through the bush to get to the actual tower.
Right up the hill.
Up the hill. Yeah. So, and if you've got to carry stuff like batteries and things, you don't want to be.
Bugger that.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll get you tomorrow, eh?
Yeah, too easy.
No, it's a bit of a mission. So, no, we're working on getting that sorted, though. It'll be well and truly sorted before the season starts. But just if you are here that time of year, obviously we do start getting thunderstorms and that sort of thing. So make sure you bring a rain jacket. People don't think of that a lot.
Yeah.
Like
even if you're going out the islands and that to get something, just like if it does chop up and depends on what boats you're in, you can have a wet boat and just getting sprayed and that. Yeah, it's worth the jacket's definitely worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
So that these fellas, they're coming in November. I think I had a couple of questions here lined up, which one is a similar sort of question. They're coming in April. This is from Whitey321. A month ago, commented on Guys in the Gulf on our episode 5. He says, great information. I'm coming up to King Ash Bay at the end of April. Is this still a peak time for Barra? Anyways, boys, love your potty. Keep it up. Cheers, Tim. So, yes, April is definitely peak time for Barra. There are some groups that come here every year, like whether they're lodge groups that stay in King Ash Bay Lodge, or if they're houseboat groups, they book every April. And a lot of the time, our Easter comp, because obviously Easter moves every year, which is early this year, but Easter sometimes in April, and that's always, the Easter comp's always sort of synonymous with Barramundi, you know. So it's definitely a good time for Barra. It is this time of year where you're sort of just coming out of that cyclone season, so it's unlikely to get a cyclone in April. Yeah,
still got a bit of rain.
It could be storms and that. Yeah,
but yeah, definitely good. It's a good time of year.
Yeah, we love April.
We have groups like the Stay at the Lodge that have like some will come in April, May even, and then other guys will book like September, October, or November.
Yeah,
and so like that, but yeah, certainly April's definitely in one of the better months for it. Having said that, you can come here all year round and catch Barra.
Yes, definitely.
Probably the two slowest months would be December and January. Well, certainly late December and most of January, and maybe even early Feb.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even recommend anyone to come here then.
It's a bit hard.
You can.
Yeah, we've got a couple of campers in the camp now, but and you can come and what the good things are, like I love it this time of year because there's bugger all people here. You won't see another person anywhere unless you go to the shop of an afternoon to get something. Like you're not going to see anyone around, or unless you go to the bar. The bar's 3 nights a week at the moment, so other than that, you won't see anyone around. It's just some people might like just kicking back in their camper trailer or caravan or whatever, and
the only thing you'll hear is either old mate mowing the lawns, or a big afternoon storm every now and then, like today.
Yeah, like today a couple of times.
We had a hell of a storm today. Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was a monster actually.
Yeah. Usually when you get a big storm come over, sometimes you get one big crack of thunder, like it's just over the top of you. But we had a lot.
Dozens. Yeah.
It hung over the top of us for a while. Yeah, it was good fun.
Glad I wasn't stuck out in the boat somewhere. Yeah. So that doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter what time of year you come. There are certainly better times though, and April's definitely one of the better times. Otherwise, later in the year as well, October. Yeah. October's certainly our busiest month, for the lodge.
Yeah, and by April, the server will be open every day. Whether they're full hours yet, I'm not sure, but it'll definitely be every day they're open.
And they'll probably be open twice a day. If they're not open all day, they'll be open like in the morning for a few hours and then the afternoon for a few hours.
And the club will be open every day, the bar, the grill. Yeah.
That's another thing too. Like, don't stress too much about what gear you bring. Bring what you got. You don't have to go and spend $1 million on gear. And if there is something that you're short on when you get here, like you can go to the servo. The servo's got, it is, quite sizable in the range of stuff that they got for fishing and stuff, like in terms of lures and stuff. And they don't sell stuff that we don't use here, like everything they've got is stuff that you use here. So, and it's like, you don't have to worry about price too, because it's pretty good pricing, So, so don't stress too much if you're not really sure.
Yeah. And also don't stress about the hours they're open as well, because they've got 24-hour fuel.
Yeah, 24-hour fuel there as well. So, so if you do get in late or need to leave early and it's not open, as long as you got a credit card or debit card or whatever, you can, they got the outdoor payment terminal there. And same with like ice as well. Like you can get ice from the servo 24 hours. If they're not open, you can just write your details up and then fix it up when you come back in. Or same for the club, you can go and do it at the bar as well. If you're leaving the bar late at night and you want a bag of ice, you can grab a bag of ice and take it.
So more details on that. So at the servo here and at the club, at that Gropers Bar and Grill, there's big deep freezers outside, and you can just 24 hours a day you can go up and take ice, and then they'll have like a little board up. You write your name down, and you come back later that day and pay it when they're open. Yeah, so it's pretty convenient any time of day. If you've run out of ice for your Captain Morgan and Cokes,
which does happen.
Yeah. I just noticed above that one from Tim there was Stephen McIntyre. He's the comment. I won't even read the comment. It was just like a personal comment to me. But yeah, he's a bit of a legend. I think he watches all my videos and all of our podcasts. And he was one of the people that I met up with him on my drive down to Southeast Queensland. He actually brought a 6-pack of beer with him. Yeah, he wheeled into the drive-through and he's like, "Oh, you can have a beer with me, mate?" I'm like, "Oh, all right, yep." I still got a couple hundred Ks to go, but okay.
Jazzy's driving.
Yeah, Jazzy, you're driving. Yeah, so that was pretty good. He definitely and he rocked up in the merch as well. He was wearing the merch and he bought some merch. Yeah, a bit of a legend. So, cheers, mate. Thanks for the support. Bit of a shout out.
What else we got, mate? We got a couple more we can have a look at.
Yeah, definitely we can have a look. Let's just keep it rolling, mate. We'll keep rolling. People can listen to us while we fumble through our phones. Yeah. There's lots of people commenting in stuff for the Golf Mud Crabbers playlist that we've got on Spotify. So this is the music playlist, Golf Mud Crabbers. And so there's just lots of songs in there that we love for different reasons, and people are starting to message us suggestions. Some of them, like for example, old mate here, James Merrick, messaged 2 different songs, Hunting, Fishing and Loving Every Day by Luke Bryan, which I didn't add straight to it, even though it's a really good song, and we both love Luke Bryan. Yeah. But then the second one he suggested was Buy Me a Boat by Chris Jansen. Yeah. Which that song for us, I can't believe it wasn't already on the list. I just added it straight to the list because I'm like, that was a song when it first came out. Ash and I were listening to that on continuous repeat, basically for a long time. Yeah, so that's even like I hadn't even heard of a Yeti before, and he's got that Yeti 110 iced down with some silver bullets. I don't know what silver bullets were, which are cans of
something, Coors Light or Bud Light or something.
Of beers,
Somebody correct us, please.
So that's when I first heard about Yetis, like Yeti Coolers and that. Yeah, Yeti 110. Yeah. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Now everything's Yeti.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so another Spotify one. Heaps of people just, Brett James says, "Great job, fellas. Keep them coming." Like, comments like that, feel free to message those. We read all the comments. Sometimes we don't get back to them straight away, but we always read them. So, so keep those comments coming through. I see you got a long one there, Bruss. What's that one?
Yeah, mate. From Mitchell. Thanks, Mitchell. Mikey Ash, loving the podcast, fellas. Whenever I go on a long drive, I chuck the podcast on for a few episodes. Keen for the next lot to come out. Yeah, sorry, mate. We missed a couple of weeks there.
Over Christmas.
My bad. Keen for the next lot to come out. He's got a quick story for us. We have a few blokes that head up to Karumba on a fishing trip each year. Good week-long getaway with the boys fishing every day with a couple of beers in between. Good on you, mate. Sounds like our sort of do. Last year, my Uncle Damo put his back out while we're in some rough sea heading up the coast. Sounds like something Mike could do. Put his back out in some rough sea heading up the coast to one of our systems south of Karumba. It was the very first day of the trip, and he was in agony. It dropped the morale, as it does, mate. We've been in that situation before where we've had, not just you, I think we've had Froggies put his back out before when we've been out in the boat, and it does definitely drop morale because it makes it bloody hard when somebody's not feeling it. It dropped the morale of the crew, and we felt pretty sorry for him. Anyway, long story short, shout out to the big Leroy, a bloke that he met at the pub at Arvo. Pretty sure he was a physio or chiropractor of some sort. He fixed his back right up for him and was good as gold for the rest of the week. So, yeah, if you could give a shout out to Leroy at Karumba for Uncle Damo. Good on you, Leroy. Hey, if you're not a trip to King Ash, can you come see Mikey, mate? Sick of him whinging every time we go out.
I do. I really do. Yeah, don't get fat, kids. Not when you're my age. Don't get fat. Even the smallest amount of chop. Although we were out in the boat, 2 days ago?
Yeah.
In your crab boat, just having a run out there, which we can talk more about in next episode. But yeah, it was choppy. There was no swell as such, but it was choppy. And I was at the front of the boat, and I was absolutely struggling because my back was every little bang, 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 bang on every little bit of chop. As a result of my back hurting, I'm all clenched up. My ankles, my knees were sore. I'm holding on for dear life. So my knuckles are sore. Yeah, and Ash is, and I know that like down the back of the boat, it's calmer. But Ash says, "Oh, just go down the back, go down the back." I'm like, "All right, fine." I go down there, and I'm sitting there. It's just like a different boat. Like I'm hands-free. I was literally sitting there going, "Whoa." It was a totally different boat. Yeah, it's incredible what difference that makes. If you literally, like the physics of it, obviously is the pivot point.
Yeah.
So the back of the boat doesn't go up and down very much, but the front of the boat, being your crab boat,
you're
going up and down the whole full length of the wave. You know.
Yeah, bang, bang, bang. Yeah. That's a funny thing. You sit on the river at the bar, and up at the club here of an evening or whatever, and you watch all the tinnies come back in the afternoon, especially during the dry season, and you've got, generally speaking, the typical thing is like a 375 rooftop or something like that with a 20 horsepower outboard, and you've got dad's driving, mum's up the front, right on the bow, bang, 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 every single time. Poor mum. Yeah, if you're listening, mum, sit down in the back. Yeah. Tell dad to sit at the front and you drive. You won't believe the difference. Because when you're saying it's rough and you're complaining to him, he's like, it's not rough. It's fine. This is nothing. But yeah, if you're sitting at the front of the boat, it's vastly different from the back, even in a tinny, especially in a tinny. So
those little bloody crock biscuits, as we call them.
Yeah, plenty of them getting around.
Here's another similar one from to old mate coming in November. They've booked 2 houseboats for October for 8 nights. He says this podcast is a pot of gold. So it's obviously being good for him. Obviously a first timer coming up here. Been watching for a long time. Would love a podcast on the houseboats and usual locations. People seem to anchor up for a week. About the creeks, so the main places that the houseboats will typically go is like the mouth of the MacArthur, the mouth of the Crooked, and the mouth of the Carrington Creek. Yeah,
not so much the Carrington, but like
don't do that often.
Not a lot. No.
Okay, so it's MacArthur or Crooked.
I think the vast majority is the Crooked, down the Crooked or down the MacArthur, but maybe we'll have to get Damo on for a chat, mate.
Yeah, rightio.
When Damo's not here at the moment. He's bloody gallivanting around Tasmania, I think.
Yeah. He'll be good for a yarn or two, I'm sure, as well.
Yeah, for sure. Talk about houseboat mastering.
Houseboat mastering.
So, Damo's got some good yarn. So, when Damo gets back, we might see if he wants to come and have a chat, and then we can probably, go do a bit of a thing on houseboats and how it works. And
That would be a good insight for people, I think, especially first timers that are coming to hire a boat for the first time.
What they want to do, because it is pretty hard. Like, a lot of the year, like obviously the peak times for houseboats, cabins, and like us at the lodge is early in the year and later in the year. But like even in the middle of the year, it is getting increasingly more difficult to get bookings and stuff. So, it'd be good to get a bit more information out there so that people can make their decision on what they want to do and then try and get in, because like the place is just getting busier and busier. And
there's a message here from Laren, which I reckon we met Laren this year, because when he introduced himself, shake his hand, Laren. He's like, Laren? He's like, yeah, Laren, as in laryngitis. And I reckon Laren, his trip was cut short. There was a bad news in the family somewhere, and he had to leave quickly. But he did go fishing a couple of days. I'm sure, there wouldn't be 2 Larens, would there? I'm pretty sure this will be the Laren that we met. You would have met him. But his question was, hey, Mikey and Ash, love the podcast. Couple of ideas. How about discussing NT fishing rules and regs? Examples, size limits, crab pot limits, green zones. And also ask the question to Ash, how did he start, he meant to say, how did he start his crabbing profession?
No.
So that was the old that last question. That was like
crabbing's an easy one. Crabbing one's an easy one to answer because that was basically pandemic. So had a couple of businesses sort of like, but all King Ash Bay, all in tourism. So fishing charters and accommodation, like the lodge, obviously King Ash Bay Lodge.
Yeah. So because of our proximity to Borroloola, this was considered what do they call it? A
biosecurity zone.
Yeah. So King Ash Bay was shut down basically.
Well, you couldn't travel from interstate to the territory to start with, but then because we were in the biosecurity zone, you couldn't even come from Katherine or Darwin or anything. So we couldn't even have, local sort of people come and visit
during that time.
Yeah. So we were sort of buggered. We had zero trade. So we went, from having really, really good bookings for that season to having zero. And then, so we basically survived for the first year on not much. And then the second year, we got bits and pieces, like people were starting to be able to travel again. So we'd like one group would make it and then the next one wouldn't. And then, so it was just really, really difficult, and the flip side of it is people don't even realize when that happened. It's not just the stuff you miss out on then. It's like all the people planning their stuff stop planning. So then all of a sudden you're not even like you're not getting deposits in or anything like that for the following year or anything. So it's sort of it projects into the future. You know what I mean? So. And then because people haven't planned it for next year, then they don't come the following year.
So even after it opened up again,
so
you still had a huge flow-on effect of
there's a bit of lag time between. So obviously I was pretty lucky because we were still running a truck to Darwin every week, taking the live mud crabs to Darwin, and bringing a bit of freight back. So which you're allowed to do that, obviously. Commercial thing was allowed to operate like that, and. I was jumping in the truck every now and again doing a run for my old man, save him driving every week. And, just spoke to one of the agents that I've known for a long time, just said, look, I'm just sitting at home doing nothing. Like, got the Coxswain's ticket, boat and survey, whatever. If it's possible to get a license next season or whatever, and if somebody's, because at that time there was a couple of people that were moving around and pulling out, retiring and stuff. So, and I was able to get a foot in the door there and able to lease a license. So I started doing that, and then obviously we continued running the charter business afterwards, but had somebody doing it for us, which was okay for a bit. But it's like with insurances and stuff, if you're not doing it yourself, it's just way too expensive. So ended up selling that, and then just continued on crabbing. Because it's just trying to diversify, obviously, and I really like it. Obviously, it's good fun, and it suits me a lot better being able to do stuff for the club then as well. Like, because obviously you still spend a lot of time doing stuff for the club, so crabbing gives me the opportunity to do that as well without costing me too much. So. Yeah, whereas before, if you're doing fishing charters all the time, you've got stuff booked in, you have to go that day. You don't have any option but to do it.
What you mean, yeah.
Whereas doing this, it's flexible. I can pick and choose my days when I do things, when we plan meetings or anything. If something important's coming up, we can plan around it. So that's how I got into crabbing.
So it was basically because you had no money coming in, so you're like,
pretty
need
much.
to make money. So
it's sink or swim, mate. That was it. So,
it sort of worked out like long term. It's worked out well. As you said,
awesome.
you enjoy it,
Yeah.
and
I love it. Yeah, no, it's really good, and it's certainly completely different to what I thought it would be too. Like it's a lot better than I thought it would be. I may have been pessimistic about the whole industry before getting into it, but now that I see how things are managed and how it works, like it's a really good industry to be in, and a lot of really good people in it, and it's sort of like, as like here, it's a big family of guys that do it and stuff. So everyone, although everyone does their own thing, you sort of feel like you're part of a team a little bit, like in everyone looks after each other and well,
that's what you see on Crab Load Up Day when all the boats are down there and everyone just hooking in, helping each other.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it is good. So
even like I'm sort of pseudo part of the family as well. Like I'm obviously not a mud crabber, but
in amongst it all the time.
I'm part of the family.
Yeah, that's it. There's always a few hangers on, mate, that are always around helping out and stuff. So no, it's good. In terms of some of the other things though, like rules and regulations, obviously the best thing is because once this goes out, it'll be out for forever. So
Yes.
the best thing to do is if you're coming and you're going to do some fishing here, download NT Fishing Mate app. It's got everything in there.
Yeah. And it's pretty basic in the Northern Territory. Rules are very basic.
Yeah. We could run through some things like, legal size limit of barrows, 55 centimeters, no closed season for them, things like that. But
and there's only a handful of fish that have a size limit.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So we have more bag possession limits, bag limits than size limits, which we've spoken about previously. Yeah. So, but the best thing to do by far is to go and download the Fishing Mate app, because you might be listening and you might not be coming here. You might be going to Darwin, or you might be going to, Nullarbor or something like that, or Grid Island or whatever. They're mostly the rules are the same territory-wide, but there are some places like the Daly River and Mary River and places where there are fish management zones and things.
Yeah, they've got one little odd rule, especially with barra, to do with you're only they've got a maximum size.
Well, there's all different things like there's
certain things, yeah.
Yeah.
And closed, the mouth of the Daly, there's a closed season.
There's closed sections in places, and then there's also what you can use as tackle as well in some places. Some places only single hook, no trebles.
If you're fishing from Shady Camp,
barbless hooks only.
Even land-based standing on the barrage at Shady Camp, single hooks only. And that's to do with protecting the under. Because there's a lot of undersized fish there. If all you want to do is catch your first ever barramundi, wild barramundi in the Northern Territory, I'd say go to Shady Camp Barrage and go and have one cast and catch yourself a little barra about that big.
Yeah.
There's so many there. So as a result, using trebles, you're going to damage the fish so that's why they have those sorts of rules in place.
Yep. Yeah, but like I said, jump online, get that, or they've got it for iPhone or bloody whatever. You can download the app and it's got all the information there.
Yeah.
King Ash Bay, if you come in here, in the office, when you first arrive, pull in the office, they've got all the booklets are in there.
The girls have so much information there about everything. Yeah.
And all the fisheries related stuff, there's plenty of pamphlets and stuff there with all the information. Same as if you stay at the lodge, we have all the information on posters and stuff there about what you can and can't do. So I got one more message here.
Facebook message, is it?
On Golf Facebook page from Kirk. And this is about, he mentions it here about the podcast Royale, mate, in Gold Coast in April, which you bought your tickets the other day. He was going to buy tickets the other day. He was going to buy first class too, Jazzy. He's going to use up all your credits.
It was going to be business class, but I was going to use all of the business credit.
Oh, yeah, I was going to be down the back with all the bloody rest of the livestock, and he was going to be sitting at the pointy end. But it's all good. From Kirk, hey fellas, just wanted to write in and say that I'm really enjoying the podcast. They are very relevant for most fishers who are visiting or even locals. I certainly didn't know that the King Ash Bay region had so much to offer. Also, side note, opposite the convention centre on the Goldie is an awesome Italian restaurant called I'm going to get the name wrong, Gemelli? I don't know. But opposite the convention centre anyway.
Gemelli.
If you're into that sort of food, so book in and have a wicked feed. Highly recommend the crab linguine. Well, if we're down there, mate, we're going to get stuck into some crab. We're going to eat some territory product.
Crab linguine. Crikey.
What do you
Sounds
reckon,
all right.
So have you booked your tickets or?
No, I haven't, man. It's such a big trip, and
It's a quick. It's like 4 days.
I've been tossing up. It's just a big commitment, Bruss. Big commitment. I've got a buddy family at home, Oh, look. I'll book the tickets tonight, hey? We'll go through all it's 6:10. The bar's open right now. It's Tuesday, so the bar's open. I'll book them tonight while we're sitting at the bar, eh?
We're going to get amongst it.
Yeah. All right. You got any? I've got a song I want to nominate for the Golf Mud Crabbers playlist.
Yep.
So this one was actually sent to me by my mate Leon. I've known Leon for must be 15 years now, and I saw him just recently, and he told me he listens to every podcast and watches every video. So g'day, Leon, mate.
G'day, Russ.
Hope you and the family are going well.
Where's he at?
Down at Bundaberg.
At Bundaberg,
yeah.
Come down to the Gold Coast, mate. The last weekend in April, Mike will be there.
Yeah, podcast Royale, buddy. I'll be there. We'll have some crab linguine. These heavy beers, I'm not sure if I'll do this again. I feel like I've turned into a bit of a clown, but anyway. So his recommendation is a song that you and I already know is Buy Dirt by Jordan Davies.
Yeah.
And because I don't know the name Jordan Davies, I had to go double check and make sure it's the song that I thought it was, and it is. So Jordan Davies does it by himself, but he also does what's it called? A duet of this song with Luke Bryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Buy Dirt. It's a very good song. Just off camera before, I mentioned it to Ash, and he said, "You're a dog. Don't laugh at me."
He had 4 beers. He's dusted.
It was probably the big espresso martini I had before I came down.
I didn't have any of them.
Buy Dirt, Jordan Davies. Yeah, so we spoke off camera and we're like, oh, yeah, that is a good song. So that one probably, I'm nominating that. That's going straight to the list, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got, Russ?
Roger, mate. I've got Almost Home.
Who's that by?
Craig Morgan, but it's an old. I reckon it's an old song, but it's been redone again by Craig Morgan with Jelly Roll as well.
Oh yeah,
I did Jelly Roll last week. Jelly Roll is topical at the moment, so
he is so.
But no, it's a really, really, really good song.
I see he's got a personal trainer.
Oh yeah, Gary Brecker.
Yeah,
is it Gary Brecker?
Oh, I don't know his name, but
who's the guy that's on that does all the fitness stuff? Is it Gary Brecker? I think it's Gary Brecker.
But he's talking about Jelly Roll losing bloody 200 pounds this year or something. He's like, he's going to do it.
I'm pretty sure it's Gary Brecker, isn't it?
Pounds.
The guy that's
he's like a celebrity weight loss dude or something.
Gary Brecker. That's him. Yeah, check him out on TikTok. Yeah, he's the one that tells you to drink salt water and that he eat just meat and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, cool. Yeah,
he's the one that Dana White and stuff talks about all the time, and Joe Rogan talks about all the time and stuff, and right into his fitness. Yeah, he's like the.
We'll see if we can get him down here to Borroloola, mate.
Yeah, King Ash Bay. Yeah, if you're listening, Gary. Inboxes, mate. We'll see if we can get back to you.
All right, let's shut this down, Russ, before I make a fool of myself.
All right, Russ, shut it down.
Shut it down.
Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Guys in the Gulf.